We already said the pledge at the beginning of the utility board meeting, so we will continue with business. We have roll call.
Robert Carnahan is absent. John Foreman is absent. Ralph Miller.
Present.
Colleen McKeown. Here. Richard Sharp.
Present.
Julie Rivera. Here. Randy Neiman.
Present.
I'm present. Jill Murr.
Present.
David Austin.
Present.
We have a quorum. Prior to our public hearing, I would like to turn the floor over to our town administrator, Jill Murr, to give an action report and update on the current health emergency in our country and the steps that the town of Cedar Lake is taking to adhere to the gubernatorial orders that have been given, as well as the federal orders. So proceed, Jill.
Council, in an effort to help slow the spread, we've been taking some proactive efforts and need your blessing on a few of those. One of those meetings are open to the public, but we are live streaming them. We're putting actions in place to live stream all of the public meetings so anyone can view them from home via YouTube. There is a link on our webpage to that, as well as we can send that out. The building department, we're going to encourage our builders to communicate directly with the department via telephone and email. Forms are available online. Schedule appointments for any transactions. Limit those face-to-face transactions whenever possible. Recreation programs, the Easter egg hunt scheduled for April 3rd is recommended to be canceled. There is an alternative for those who have registered would be a gift bag of sorts to be mailed to them. Also looking at those who had registered last year, maybe we can do something for these kids while they are home. Soccer registrations will continue, however, we're going to encourage the registrations via mail or using our Dropbox. If they need to schedule an appointment, they can call our recreation coordinator and schedule that, or email the events at cedarlakein.org. Clerk treasurer's office, utility bills, there's many options for paying those. Those come in the form of, you can go online and pay them. However, there is a processing fee. You can mail them, the Dropbox here at Town Hall, DeMott State Bank. Also, we do have the automatic withdrawal option. The windows are here. However, we are not having any of the sliding windows where there'd be that face-to-face contact. It's all through glass right now. The park restrooms out here, we are going to close those. We've reached out to Republic. Republic is going to be continuing garbage collection for the town's residential routes and any contracted services. The cleaning of the building will continue, and communication on that. The clubhouse rentals, recommending we suspend any future rentals and allow people to reschedule if they so choose or have refunds. All of those groups are smaller than the recommended guidance right now of 50 people or under.
So we have a set of items here for the council that I would like to ratify as our official action plan, so it can be circulated to media and through the outlets of media of the town. So with that, I would consider a motion for ratification of these items.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp,
Second.
second by Mr. Miller. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen McKeown.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here with what's going on. I think there's been a lot of panic that has partially been caused by, seems like every day out of the federal and state government, they're swinging a bigger and bigger hammer at this thing. And some of it is maybe a little overblown, some of it not. But what we're trying to do is stay up to date on what is being released out of Indianapolis from the governor. The governor is given pretty broad powers as it relates to medical emergencies, health emergencies, granted through the President, through the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And these powers are then trickled down to local health departments, which in Lake County would be our local health department. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that we adhere to those orders and be consistent with the letter of those orders. So a few things from the governor's press release today, having to do with, says Indiana will adhere to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention for large events, mass gatherings. The guidance recommends no in-person events of more than 50 people. Now, you can see by just reading that, that's a recommendation. It's not a requirement, but if we scroll down, bars, nightclubs, and restaurants are required to close to in-person patrons and may provide takeout and delivery services through the end of March. And there are a number of things that you can find on the Indiana government website that helps to kind of clarify some of the questions I think that all of us have. And as far as these meetings go, they've asked that non-essential meetings don't take place if they don't need to, but meetings that do take place, the open meeting laws have been temporarily waived, which allows for a council like this, as long as one member's present, the other 6 members can call in. It's still a public meeting, it'll still be broadcast, and the doors will still be open, but those members that call in are allowed to vote like they would any other time. So that's the only difference here, but our intention in Cedar Lake is to keep ourselves open for business. The state of Indiana, State House is open to the public, so is the Lake County Government Center. So we will follow suit and make sure that any problems that our citizens have that need to be addressed, that you have access to your government buildings and your government officials to help you with those things. So again, we're not reinventing the wheel, we're just trying to do our best to navigate this like everybody else while trying to keep some sense of calm and normalcy to what we do in day-to-day life. Because I think for most of us, we're all kind of scratching our heads every day and wondering what's coming next. And we don't want to be caught in that quagmire of guessing on things. We're just going to do our business as well as we can and as normal as we can. And hopefully you guys will continue to show up and bring your questions and ideas to us. Jill, there was one other item that needed consideration, and that was the utility late fees. So given that there is going to probably be a portion of our economy that's affected by this, while we can't waive utility bills because our utilities would not survive for too long without income, just like people won't, we can waive the late fees for a period of time. Would March and April be a sufficient, or has March bills have already gone?
March bills have gone out,
And they're
penalties
due.
have not yet been applied, they're due by the 20th.
So March and April would be a good start at that, to get us started at addressing some of the needs of the community and giving people a little more time without assessing and accruing more penalties. Is there a motion by the council to waive March and April late fees for utility bills?
I'll make a motion to waive the late fees.
I'll second.
Thank you. A motion by Ms. Rivera, second by Ms. Sheehan. Are there questions or discussion?
Can we include in that motion also, we are going to forego water shutoffs for those same months?
Do you concur?
Yes.
Amend your motion, concur?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Thank you for your patience in our little presentation here. We'll start with our public hearing. Tonight we have ordinance number 1347, which is Ravens Public Way Vacation. Attorney review of legals, Mr. Austin.
Legals are in order for the public hearing.
Thank you. Opening remarks. The floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. I'm Mark Anderson on behalf of CL Leasing. I work at Anderson. This is Roy Raven, the principal of CL Leasing LLC. He's the petitioner and the owner of the property located at 12528 Wicker Avenue in Cedar Lake. We're here on the proposed vacation of the unimproved 125th Avenue, immediately west of Wicker Avenue. And it would be immediately north of CL Leasing's property. The proposed vacation of the public way abuts property owned by Hanover Development, as well as a parcel owned by Richard and Robert Henn. The unimproved 125th Avenue was platted as part of the Cedar Gardens residential subdivision, was a part of the property in which that subdivision was created. 125th Avenue was never developed. You actually can see it there. CL Leasing property is the long property east-west. And it's the Coffin Business Park, is what it's listed as. And then the highlighted in blue on the GIS, that is the Hanover Development property. That's the Olthoff subdivision, new Olthoff subdivision going in off of Wicker. And then the Hens property is immediately to the right or to the east of that's right, of there. So that's what we're talking about right there, that area of 125th that was platted as a public way, just extending all the way to the western edge of the Coffin Business Park parcel where CL Leasing, CL Leasing owns. And so basically that proposed, the roadway was part of the Cedar Gardens subdivision, and that subdivision never came to fruition. As you'll see, if you look further to the west, you'll see several, and actually to the south, several different lots that were platted, but none of which had ever been put in place. Same thing with respect to different roadways and alleys. In particular, actually the area where CL Leasing is, that used to be formerly lots 8, 9, 10, and 11 of Cedar Gardens. It's been re-subdivided into the Coffin Business Park. 125th Avenue is also close to the new proposed southern entrance of the new Olthoff subdivision. We believe that the unimproved portion of 125th Avenue is not necessary for the growth of this subdivision because that subdivision was never developed. The vacation of the platted public way would not eliminate the public's access to any church, school, or other public building or place. The public has not used and does not use the roadway to access the subdivision. In addition, we do not think that the public way would be anticipated to be needed for such purpose in the future, as the subdivision does not appear to be developed. And the Olthoff subdivision has access through, as I indicated, its southern access point. And actually, of course, there's a northern access point a little bit further north on the GIS. This petition is much like the petition for vacation of 127th Avenue. That was also immediately west of Wicker Avenue under vacation ordinance number 1056. The vacation of that public way is near the P&J landscaping property, and is entirely owned by one owner, namely Luis Serrano currently. As you know, CL Leasing was here before the council last year on another vacation petition, but CL Leasing withdrew its petition as the town and CL Leasing looked to establishing a licensing agreement under which CL Leasing could lease the property, lease the public way for its purposes. CL Leasing acknowledges and appreciates the opportunity to have this license agreement, but would ask that that the unimproved public way be vacated instead. This is because, among other issues, CL Leasing and its tenant CL Vending would need to bring the public way up to Cedar Lake standards for public improvements. And in particular, what we're looking to do here is put parking improvements in place. One of the things that as I understand it, and talking with Mr. Ravens, is that in order to get up to Cedar Lake standards, we'd be looking at they'd be looking at almost a $200,000, if not more, cost of public improvements to bring it up to Cedar Lake standards, to put everything in place, drainage and the like. The way that the license agreement was set up is that upon termination, all the improvements would need to be removed by Mr. Ravens. So that was a big issue in the license agreement for us. Another issue is that if Mr. Ravens was to sell his property at some point in the future, or CL Leasing was to sell his property, there is no guarantee that the license would transfer to a successor owner. So those are the issues that we have with respect to moving forward with the license agreement, that uncertainty that's there, and putting $200,000 into a property that Ms. Raven just wouldn't own at that point. One reason why we are here is because of a potential safety issue. If that roadway was put in place, we're concerned about another access point when we've got the new Old Hall subdivision to the north. The other issue is that CL Leasing is tenant, CL Vending LLC, has had some issues getting in and out of its driveway, and actually has had a couple vehicles go into the ditch adjacent to their driveway. And so the idea would be is if we could, if the public way was vacated, we'd have the opportunity then to widen out that driveway in order for that not to occur. There's also issues in that he can have CL Leasing could also have a turnaround with that extra 30 feet in width for his business. As you know, or as you may know, his business has been growing quite a bit as of late, and so he's been very successful there and would like to continue to remain in that location. So as you may also know, we're requesting that all of the platted public way be transferred to CL Leasing. And the standard rule is in Indiana is that when a roadway is being vacated, or public way is being vacated, usually half of each portion of the road would go to the adjoining landowners. In this case, though, the public way was all part of the Cedar Garden subdivision. So you can see there, that was the northern edge of the Cedar Garden subdivision. And so this is an exception to that normal rule in that we believe that the entire roadway should go with the property from which it came, which is that subdivision, that property to the south. So that's what we're looking for at this point, is to ask for an ability to have the entire roadway be vacated and also provided to the area, the subdivision immediately adjacent to it, that property there. And if I could, may I approach? I have a couple of documents I'd like to provide to the council. May I approach?
As long as those documents have been sanitized.
I know, that's right.
Yeah, you do it at your own risk, by the way, too.
No, I'm really been nervous. Okay, so the first document I'm going to be giving you is a series of emails from Dan Helabowski. He's in the mapping department at the Lake County Auditor's Office. So, as you know, he and John basically run the GIS for Lake County and basically handle all the property issues with respect to the auditor's office. And so this is the first one. So basically, when I've been speaking with Dan about this situation. So basically, if you go to the second page, basically he writes the vacation of the street. This is talking about the specific issues that I brought up with him and showed him on the GIS. The vacation of the street has to stay within the boundary of the subdivision plat. The plat is what created the street, so it cannot be added to the property that lies outside the platted subdivision. So that's what his thoughts are on this. I may approach one more time. I'd like to give one more exhibit.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So this is a letter that was signed by the president of Hanover Development, the Old Town property. By Joe Lanigan, actually. President. Signed it, yeah. So basically, Basically, what this letter is indicating is regardless of whether the roadway would be vacated and provided by the council directly to CL Leasing, Mr. Lanahan's represented in this letter, has signed off that he doesn't object to the proposed vacation, that he'd agree that CL Leasing should receive title to all the proposed vacated property located immediately south of the Hanover development property. So, another question in this case is jurisdictional. And so one of the issues that we do have is that the Hens property is located in unincorporated Lake County. And so there is a question, there's case law that over the years that have dealt with situations where roadway it makes up the border of and there's gonna be a vacation. The question is to whether you need to get both jurisdictions approval or a single jurisdiction's approval. In this case, this roadway is located entirely within the boundary of Cedar Lake. It's not like a county line road or a state line road that would deal with, would cut down the middle of the road. So I'd ask that also with respect to Dan. And so if you go back to the email that I first provided you, and I'd asked him that same question, and I asked, does the county have any jurisdiction with respect to this issue? And he says, no, the county would not have any jurisdiction. County would not be involved because, again, this subdivision and the roadway would be entirely within the boundaries of Cedar Lake. So based on that, I believe Cedar Lake has the power to act solely without the need for the Lake County to be involved at all with respect to this vacation of the public way. So based on the foregoing, we'd ask that the county approve CL Leasing's petition to vacate the portion of the platted but unimproved public way, 125th Avenue, for the length of the CL Leasing property.
Is that all, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, that's it, thank you.
I just got a question.
Well, once we go through to reading remonstrators in the town council, can we do it in that order?
Oh, sure.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Ravens, do you have anything to add?
No, just, we kind of went through it before. We're just having an extremely difficult time, and it's becoming unsafe in our parking lot. Trucks can't get in, they can't turn around. We've had them back in off of 41, which is extremely dangerous. They cut the corner too short, dropping the trailer wheels, and the globes come in, they're all tipped over because, they can't make the turn. So it's just a list of problems that are starting to create, and I'm just trying to figure out, how to make it all work, I guess.
How much has your business grown in the last 5 years?
Last 5 years, about 120%.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's just, we love it there, but it's getting tight.
Understood.
We got one of our renters is gonna leave, we're gonna take over that part of it. So we're just doing anything we can, but I do need to create some kind of a truck turnaround, and I think that we need to push the cars back and create that truck turnaround. And, just to make it safer, right now, we can't hardly even back our trucks into the garage. Because as the business grows, our trucks are getting bigger, so it's getting a little harder to make the swing,
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now have a reading of ordinance 1347. Ms. Rivera, by its title only, please.
Ordinance number 1347, an ordinance vacating a public way in the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Mr. Austin? Any comments?
This is, first of all, a standard procedure under the Indiana Code for vacation of a public way. The application is under Title 36 in the way it should be. This is a very unique and interesting public way vacation with a multitude of factors involved. You didn't hear one citation of legal authority from Mr. Anderson about the requests they've made given the location of the property, not a single citation to legal authority. The law is that the division of the property upon vacation is to each the issue here. It's a unique issue, it's very unique, being that this road, public right-of-way, is essentially the northern boundary of the town in that location. So that creates some unique issues for you to consider. I also thought it interesting, this is a kind of a sidebar to those comments, initial legal comments, that their business, and I like you, I'm glad to hear the businessman doing well. But this is a business transaction in turn. The business transaction here is that, twofold. One, our property is already being used by Mr. Ravens. So he's taken a constructive lease, if you will, with the town, for the use of this property. Number two, that there is a commercial gain to be had by the vacation of this public way to Mr. Ravens for the continuity of this business. This is so unlike what we normally see here in Cedar Lake. Normally we see our various public walkways or our access to the lakeways or the 1910 methodology of providing 3-foot, 5-foot walkways to the lake or through communities in the early days of our town. And division of the property makes a lot of sense given what occurs. And there's no commercial gain. You've heard Councilman Carnahan. I'm hoping he's watching. This would be very interesting if he were here. Councilman Carnahan, historically, for 3 decades, has sat up here and talked about compensation, if you will. And maybe on a commercial transaction, this is in effect a commercial transaction, albeit through the public sector method of public way vacation versus a private arm's length negotiated real estate transaction. So those are my initial observations. I have a few more probably, but.
Okay. Okay, any remonstrators, for or against? Come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Nick Rowley, I live in 7,000 West 127 Place, Apartment A. I just talked to Bob Carnahan last couple weeks, I've been keeping in touch with him. I just wanna know what was going on with the signs they're blocking, they were gonna be putting signs up on Walsh here. And I just wanna make sure that we don't know what's going on with that idea, or why they're doing it.
So right now, we're considering a public hearing item, Nick, and any remonstrators for or against has to do only with this item. So, but your comments need to be saved for the end of the meeting when we go to public comment, then we can see if we can answer your questions.
Okay.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Any remonstrators? Third call for remonstrators. Town council discussion, Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I've got a question. Who owns the property on the other side?
Well, there's two. There's Hanover Development owns the western portion of that property right there, yes. And then the Hens own that property right there. There's 2 other adjacent parcel owners.
And we've got the letters from the one stating that it was okay.
From Old, from Hanover, yeah.
Who owns the property that would be proposed to be vacated? Because I know many of the vacations that we've done, and things that you've talked about, have actually been part of been part of a private property owner. Somebody's already owned the property, somehow over years got title to a public way, and we had to vacate it basically because it was private property.
Well, it's where the property is located that causes you to address public way vacations, alleyways, sidewalks or lake access. They call them that on those old plats.
But if, as I recall, this is a rare case where does the town actually hold title to
We
this
do.
property?
This,
And what is the size of this parcel?
Cedar Gardens.
Cedar Gardens was platted with this as a planned routing.
So wouldn't this be a real estate sale
It is, actually.
rather than, I mean, we're not agreeing to donate property here, are we?
You are, if you adopt the ordinance, they will go record that thing and it's their property. It is a transaction without consideration.
What size is the lot, the property we're talking about? What's the dimensions of the property? Do you have that, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, and actually there should be with the petition, I could have,
It doesn't have an acreage,
no, it's 30,
calculation.
it's 30 feet wide by 580 feet, 580.23 feet.
$17,400 square feet, essentially.
Third of an acre.
I guess the question would be, what the value of that 30 feet wide versus by 580 feet long strip would actually be, what it could actually be used for, I guess, in the sale in the open market, number one. Number two, with respect to the consideration aspect, I don't know about ordinance 1056 that dealt with 127th Avenue as to whether there was any consideration that was given for that. That was also for a business purpose, that also went all to one landowner in the end. And that can actually be seen, if you go down, if you bring the GIS, move it south, 126th is could you go down one more level, down to 127th? And you could zoom in there. Yeah, so that's 127th that was vacated. Same thing, commercial property, roadway off of Wicker, that was vacated under that ordinance.
So in talking about the town boundary portion of this, currently the boundary is to the northernmost part of that platted road, correct?
That's absolutely incorporated.
And if this was vacated, that boundary would essentially be cut in half because Mr. Henn's property right to the north is in unincorporated Hanover Township,
That's
correct?
what I understand, part of this is an unincorporated.
Your green line right here on the map.
That's correct. So basically, the Hens property is a carve-out of unincorporated Cedar Lake. But again, our petition, and we talked about legal issues, legal authority, there's nothing that I've seen that deals with this specific issue that's involved with respect to a subdivision, where the boundary is clearly on one side of the road. It's one thing when it's in between the road, and case law talks about that, there's over 100 years that's been the case. But I've not seen anything that talks about this specific issue with roadways, always completely within the boundaries of the roadway itself.
So would this mean essentially that small portion then, if it's divided in half goes to Mr. Henn and half to Mr. Ravens, would that mean that portion of Mr. Henn's property would then be in the boundaries of Cedar Lake? Or would it remain unincorporated?
No, it would remain, you don't change the boundaries by this, you change the ownership.
Well, we wouldn't be changing the boundaries.
You won't change the boundaries, you change the ownership.
The boundaries is the platted road, and that would go all the way up to the northernmost point of that road, correct?
I think so.
So if that road's technically cut in half, wouldn't that mean that part of Mr. Henn's property is then in the town of Cedar Lake? Or would it mean that the town of Cedar Lake has forfeited that half of the road to unincorporated Lake County?
No, we don't change jurisdiction, we keep where the boundaries of the town are. That is part of the municipal boundary.
Okay,
Without question.
okay. So in that case that Mr. Anderson cited down on 127th, and you have to refresh my memory, was that 127th part of a private property title, or was that something that the public did own at that point?
Yep.
That we
It was a public
essentially,
way, it was a public way that received favorable action by an ordinance here.
okay. What kind of, when we do these plats for these subdivisions, what kind of costs does the town incur in putting these sorts of things together? I know it's very difficult to separate out a small portion of a road or a public way, but just as an idea, I'm just thinking out loud here as to, you know, what do we have in this, small portion of a road? Do we have really anything significant in it?
No, not significant. You know, it's a ministerial, fairly ministerial processing to get him to this point, so you know, these public hearings
Right.
take place.
But as far as the plating of it goes, that plating was all submitted by a developer or,
Back in the 1950s or late 40s.
so the town really doesn't have a lot of resources into that plat.
No, in fact, that plat, and Dick Henk could affirm this, I think, would take you back to 1950s,
Okay.
Cedar Lake there, Cook, kind of the way things were at the time of development. The developer here was a banker up in Hammond, wasn't he? Yeah. So he built his own home in there and then.
Glad we have a local historian.
Since ours isn't here.
Yeah, our resident historian is watching on YouTube, but we've got Mr.
I'm
Hank.
subjecting.
He's really old.
Yeah, so it's kind of a retro project. I couldn't develop that subdivision today anywhere near like that.
And question for Todd and Bill, in that Altoff development, is there sufficient access and emergency access to that subdivision once it's built out? I know we've had issues with some subdivisions with one entrance point.
There is, there's appropriate, it is kind of a dangerous area in that area with the hill, but
Understood, but
as far as the entrance is concerned, it's adequate. It meets
the main
town.
entrance is on 41, but there's a south
Right.
access point.
North and south.
We were just over there recently, and it looks fine to me.
Okay, I, just covering all the bases here.
Yeah.
We've had these questions before, and Havenwood was one of them in the 90s, that, you know, we end up in kind of a bottleneck situation with.
And the only downside to these locations, which I know that they're there, but that's the bottom of the hill where the Cedar Lake vending truck had the crash not too long ago,
Right.
so it can be a rough area, but it's plenty wide.
Okay,
Mr. President, your center turn lane project with NDOT is currently going through its utility board
okay,
of having utilities reviewed as part of their plan, so they're in stage 1 of review. So, at beginning stages, but the next couple of years, you'll see that center turn lane go in
Good.
through that area as well.
that'll help. Any other council discussion on this?
Nick, are you interested in the other half of that?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. So we would be doing something that we normally don't do if we divided it. Why don't we maybe get a realtor to look at it and put a value on it and maybe try to sell it?
It's an idea, but
Mr. President, this is an incredibly unique piece of land and location. They have an important business in your community here. My recommendation is that you defer this, continue the public hearing, go out and take a look at it. And kind of see what we're talking about. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of circumstance, there's adjacent residential. There's a lot here. This isn't the 5-foot by 40-foot public alley that we typically handle.
how big was that piece on 127th? Do you know offhand, Mark?
It looks to be about the same distance west, if you look at it, and then also, it looks to be about the same width, looks like it's a 30-foot wide,
Yeah.
so it's almost exactly the same situation
Okay.
for business use purposes, and it's about the same distance off of Wicker.
I guess, you know, a counter argument to what your recommendation is that, you know, Mr. Ravens and the growth of his business, that is money that will be a part of our tax collections and TIP district and those sorts of things, so those improvements will be helpful for that purpose. So there is something to gain there for the community. So it's not like you're giving something away, because you're getting something back in return. So it's sort of an economic development. In my mind, it's an economic development move rather than a vacation. It's more, if we were doing an economic development agreement with Mr. Ravens, we may consider, hey, an exchange like this, because we see that it's going to bolster our TIF collections in the area. So, I mean, I guess there's a few ways to look at it.
Well, we've also got another businessman in the audience who said that he was interested in it.
Well, he would get a part of it, correct, Dave? So he would automatically get a part of it, Ralph, already.
No, they were asking to get the whole thing. Am I correct?
We were asking for the whole thing, but in the end, decision.
And then what would the law be on that,
It's
Dave?
better than part of nothing.
What?
All of something's better than part of nothing.
What would the law on that be? I mean, if part of this, is part of this legally entitled to the other property owner?
Yes.
Yes.
That's part of the mechanics here.
So how can we usurp the law on this? Because I'm confused.
I don't know.
I'm thoroughly confused. It doesn't all add up to me right now.
It's a very confusing piece of property.
I think I would like to make a motion to table this, and we can, like you said.
Table or defer?
Defer.
Motion to defer by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Sheban. Are there questions or discussion on the motion? Roll call?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
No. Motion carries 4-1. It's deferred to the next meeting. That would be April
So,
7th. So we will continue this then. I'd ask the council to do some research on this parcel, look at some history here, and consider some factors, especially for Mr. Raven's business. This seems like a pretty important piece. Thank you, Mr. Ravens.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you again April 7th.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we continue on with the presentation from the American Legion. I'm sorry to make you wait. Hopefully you enjoyed our debate here. But the floor is yours. No, American Legion.
Nick.
Tranquilo, Nick.
Come on, for young fellow.
Go ahead.
My name is Jerry, and as you all know, I'm the commander of the American Legion. I am gonna do the touch-a truck again this year. And I'm looking for the town, to help me out with that, with the equipment and so on and so forth. I got a couple flyers for you. If you wanna share them, I mean, we only made up a few.
It's okay, we can pass them around.
Hanover has already,
They've been decontaminated?
Yes, they have.
Oh, thank you.
I tried to boil them, but it didn't work.
I would like to watch that. See
Well, what did
boiled
they say,
paper.
62% alcohol will contaminate?
Okay. Anyway, Hanover Township has already, Hanover schools have already committed for the buses.
Oh, great.
Cool.
So I was hoping maybe I could get the town to commit with the town vehicles one more time and see how it goes over. Hopefully we won't get rained out this time.
So this is August 1st?
August 1st.
Do the chiefs have anything?
Here you go.
Todd, is there any equipment that you could take down to the site there?
Yeah, with the understanding that if we have calls going on and we can't.
Well, no, I have, last year I had the police car, when the police car showed up, I had them in one place to where they could get in and out, lickety split.
But last year you did it on our fireman's ball Saturday. And we had 7 calls back to back to back to back, and then the Legion was upset that we didn't show up. So
Well-
I want you guys to understand that
I'm-
that takes precedence over everything.
Yes, sir, it does.
And I don't wanna, I heard through the grapevine how upset you guys were with me, and I'm sorry, but, we
That's
had
quite
to
all
do
right.
that.
that was,
Is there any other
Partially,
events
yeah, but-
scheduled for August 1st?
excuse me, sir, it was probably partially my fault, because I tried to do something for the community, and maybe I spoke too soon, and I apologize to you for that.
If we just check with the schedule to see if there's nothing else going on that we would be part of, then that, there would be no problem. We will definitely do it.
Commander, what's the time frame?
10 to 4. Do you have an extra one?
6 hours?
1 second, sir.
Touch a truck? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the kids, they really enjoyed the police cars, as they were there.
Of course.
Everything that was there, the children enjoyed all the equipment, mostly all the small stuff, because they could get in and out a little bit easier than dumping into the big stuff. We had one military truck. It was a crane. When I used one, I called it a tow truck, but it's a little bit bigger than a tow truck. But if I could get your vehicles, I'd be most appreciated.
How many vehicles last year, Jill, do you know how many the Public Works took down there?
Public Works had,
I had a
four
front loader,
pieces of- yeah,
I had
front
the
loader,
little mini Suzuki kind of little truck type of thing. I think he had one truck. I can't remember everything that he had there, but he had about half a dozen pieces of equipment there.
Okay.
But if I could get a little more, just,
Mr. President,
Whatever,
we've
you
done
know.
this for more than just American Legion. We've done it for Faith Church. We've done it for quite a few of these, so it's not a big deal. We've done it many times.
and it's definitely a community event, and it's all free.
Well, if I can loosen up one of my trucks that day, I'll do the same.
You would be most appreciated.
You don't have to go around the roundabout, so they'll be able to get it there.
Would you videotape that, me going around the roundabout with a tanker for your dad?
I know.
So we can prove that he can done.
Okay,
It
so-
doesn't matter if he's standing there watching the Randy's.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna turn the rest over to my counterpart.
Okay, thank you, sir.
How's everybody doing today?
Great, how are you?
I'm hanging in there. My name is Jim Johnson. I'm the director of the Legion Riders here at Silver Lake American Legion. We've been selected from downstate, the American Legion, state of Indiana, to host this year's American Legion ALR rally, the American Legion Riders Rally. It will be starting 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th
What month?
of June. It will be here in town, of course, at our post. We will be having hopefully a bunch of motorcycle riders from all over the state coming in for this event. The question that I have actually with it is, my wife was curious about it. We usually know outside venues or whatever, music or anything like that, is usually like 10 o'clock is the time to cut it off. Does that time change in the summer at all? Does it change to 11 o'clock already?
Jill?
No. No.
No, does it start 10 o'clock? Okay. Well, that's a
And
simple
the reason
question.
for it is because of the civilians that live around the American Legion.
Yeah.
That's where our complaints are gonna come from.
Oh, more than likely. Now you kind of guess who, but I'll leave that one alone.
Just civilians.
Hey, I'm being honest. You know, that's all. That's all.
Imagine who that
But I just kind of want to let the town know, especially you gentlemen, you might see quite an increase in motorcycle traffic.
As long as we don't see an increase in motorcycle accidents, that's what
We try our best
we
not
want to
to.
avoid.
Sir,
We
are
try
they
our
gonna
best
have a
not to.
run also, or are they just going to?
We're gonna
be-
probably do a couple runs over the weekend. But now this event for us is just for the Legion Riders, period.
Mhm.
We're not having, I mean, we can't shut the public out, but we're not advertising it like we do a lot of our other runs.
Mhm.
Okay, this is all, anything that we've sent out, my wife has gone through, she's our secretary, and hit, 150 legions? Mailed out to 150 just legions in the state of Indiana. That's it.
Well, if you're gonna have some runs, I would prefer that you get a hold of us, get a hold of me, so that we can have appropriate law enforcement to help you get out onto the road.
Oh,
Even
definitely.
if we're not escorting you.
Definitely. I wish I could tell you that we are going to have 100 people for the whole weekend.
Sure.
I can't.
Yeah, Hobart
I can't.
did it 2 years ago, and they had 82
82, I believe.
motorcycles.
Yeah.
From the whole state.
My only concern would be you coming off of Washington on the Lakeshore Drive and trying to get out there while some of our other citizens are driving around and motorcycles there, so.
Oh, yeah.
I could get a car over there or something to shut the road down for 5 minutes to get
That's
you
all
guys
we
out on the
need.
road and then
That's
we're
all
good to
we
go.
need.
And I'm thinking you have some officers that are better, that they would,
Yeah, half my department are veterans, sir,
Mhm.
so. Yeah,
Mhm.
most of us have been a member of your American Legion as well, so.
Well, what we're looking for, well, like I said, I just want to make it known what was going on. We do have some people that are going to be staying there the whole weekend camping out. And otherwise, it'll be, don't know how many people we'll have total on Friday, don't know how many we'll have total on Saturday. But then we shut down on Sunday, everybody goes home.
Hopefully you have a big rally.
I hope so too.
Is there a possibility, like, for a variance for entertainment outside till 11 that we could get? Or, you know,
Like
a
some,
noise ordinance variance for the 2 nights, Friday and Saturday?
that's something that would have to go through the process, right, Dave?
Presuming everybody else do.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a.
Well, there is a
statutory
process though?
Yeah, it'd be through the Board of Zoning Appeals and the neighbors would have to be notified of the event.
And the time
And
frame.
I know
they'd
they're
have to be
all
notified
notified.
of the BZA meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
no, we'll take down
you think
the
there'd be
yeah,
neighbors?
you better
that
keep
show
it
up?
at 10, because one day I know you're gonna have a problem.
What would it be? What would it be?
I'm sorry. I like
Hey,
to
you
think,
guys haven't said anything about anybody, so.
No, I have not been that direct. What about, say, a noise ordinance, if people are there with campers, if they have personal generators with a camper? Would we still be pushing our luck with that?
If it causes, listen, the ordinance is very specific, if it causes a nuisance to a neighbor, then it's a nuisance.
Okay.
So, I can tell you, most of the new generators are pretty quiet.
Well, we're
I
planning
would
on
camp
putting-
them out closer to the railroad tracks.
That's where we plan on having them at.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
Because we advertise that we're not
and
putting
we're
in
not
any more
going to
electric out there,
issue,
nothing like that, it's primitive camping, period.
and we're not gonna issue citations for it, we're just gonna tell you to shut it down. I mean,
Okay.
that's our purpose, is because it, you know, if it causes a nuisance to our public, our citizens, then
Mhm.
we will shut it down. So that's our reason behind it.
and our thought was doing the campers were gonna be on the west end of the building, is that correct?
West and then south,
Yes, west and
across the
south.
parking lot, so it's
Right.
not close.
Yes, we're not close.
Makes
Well,
sense.
we're at least 8 of a mile away never mind.
From
Well,
neighbors.
As,
Neighbors, we'll just leave it at
as
that.
people who have served our country, I hope you guys have a great event and you get all of your brothers and sisters together.
We
and,
hope so too.
Enjoy yourselves and have a good
We
time
hope so too.
without.
This is not,
without
this is no
Bill and his team
moneymaker for
having to show
anybody,
up
this
there.
is just,
Well, I think it'll help
Just
put
to get
Cedar
the-
Lake on the map too also.
yeah.
We
My
like that.
personal opinion.
Yeah, we like
We,
that.
we actually do have what, some people from, almost like the Kentucky border,
Yeah.
that have
Crawfordville.
sent in
Awesome.
and sent in, they got hotel reservations and everything else, so
Good.
hopefully.
Well, the
we'll-
one other thing, and I think, I'm not sure, at the Chamber of Commerce, do they have like a map with what's located in the town that we
Yes.
can get to send out? Do they?
Go see Diane.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
because yeah, we're gonna send that out to all the people coming.
Just points of interest, that they don't wanna have what we're doing, like Saturday, we're doing a hog roast, so they don't want that, well, they could drive around and go over to, on the map and go over to Bugaboos or something, you know. Go and eat whatever they wanna go eat, so.
You said our guys can come to the hog roast, right?
Sit by Larry to the.
Nice shot,
I won't make a
I'll
ring.
have to get back to you on that.
I'll make arrangements. Since I'm the commander, I think I can make them arrangements.
Have you ever seen cops eat though? I mean, for crying out loud.
Not as bad as
Graham.
Really? You're gonna just put it out for cops?
Now we're going fire department versus police.
Hey man, it's on, it's on.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, I guess we need a little direction here, right, on this from the council?
trucks.
I would say just for both the support of the American Legion events, which would be the Touch a Truck and the motorcycle rally, a motion to direct the town staff to participate in those events to the, I guess, to the level necessary,
To the extent practical.
to the extent practical. Thank you, Dave.
I'll make a motion to allow the town to help participate.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, second by Ms. Sheehan. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neemeyer.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Well, good luck, guys, and hopefully you have a heck of a successful couple events and great weather.
Yeah.
Well, we always say ALR stands for a little rain, but you never know. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We appreciate it.
Be most
Thank
appreciated.
Thanks for your service.
Oscar's fired. Yeah, okay.
Next, we have public comment on agenda items.
All right.
Is there a public comment on agenda items? Mr. Toth? Hurry up, we're under a time limit.
I've been sitting there. Good evening, Kevin Toth, 9725B West 129th Place. Two little items real quick. First of all, I'd like to ask for, see if you guys can do anything about this. Usually when I come to meetings, you guys ask for public comment on agenda items. Well, those agenda items are ordinances, resolutions that you're voting on. Is there some way you could provide those resolutions and ordinances in writing or so we can read them, so we know what we're actually commenting on? Because you guys, you read them by title, and I understand it can get long and tedious to read them during a meeting, but.
We would have 4-hour meetings.
Yeah, I know, but it would be nice if they could, if you could post them on the website or
That's
make
legit.
copies of them and post them before the meeting. I
That's
mean,
legit.
just so you can, that way you know what you're commenting on.
Makes sense.
I mean, just, because sometimes you guys throw out an ordinance or a number and, or by title, and we really don't know what's in the meat of the ordinance.
I
Okay.
can say leaving copies at the table, maybe, of ordinances. What do you think, John?
I don't have a problem with that. It's all public record anyway, so it doesn't.
I don't, I looked, maybe I'm missing it, but I looked on the Liquid Town website to see if there was a place to find them or
We
to see
only
what.
post the agendas,
Yeah,
because they're not adopted yet by you.
Some of them are last minute.
and I wouldn't have a problem with putting those out there on nights of meetings for people to review.
Yeah, nights and meetings are a good day.
Yeah.
Good time.
Thank you, I appreciate
It's
it.
public record, so.
No,
No big deal.
I just would like to know what I'm commenting on sometimes if I do say something or whatever. But anyway, number two, Kevin Toth, Hanover Township trustee. I just would like to give these to you guys. This is just some information on what our office is doing right now with the health emergency. So if everybody, if you know anybody that needs some help, we're open.
Are you helping to spread fear and panic?
No, we are not.
Oh,
We are preaching common sense and.
very good,
And
thank
if
you.
people need some food from our pantry or need some financial assistance, if we can provide it, we are willing
Good.
to, and we are open. So if you can, like I said, if you know anybody that's in need, or I just posted one out in the hallway, but I just thought I'd give it to you guys so everybody knows. All right, that's it, thank you.
Thanks,
very
Kevin.
much.
Any other public comment on agenda items? Third call for public comments closed. We'll have open public comment at the close of the meeting. Our consent agenda would be our claims. I was gonna find mine. All town funds, $296,113.81. Wastewater operating, $190,506.17. Water utility, $55,966.52. Stormwater, $30,435.40, and payroll for 3/5/2020 of $235,910.79. We have the manual journal entries for February 1 through 29, 2020, tag day requests for April 4th through October 24th, page 4 of your packet. Town grounds request for Meals on Wheels, June 7th, 2020. Is there a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes and accept the consent agenda as listed?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Miller,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Rivera. Questions or discussion? Roll call?
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Clark.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy England.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. One quick thing before we go to ordinances and resolutions. On behalf of Bob Carnahan, let me remind everyone, fill out your census forms, go online, do your job. Bob, you're welcome. He is pushing hard, and I filled out mine last night, and I have proof of it. So, everybody fill out your census. Our goal is 100% counted here in Cedar Lake. Ordinances and resolutions, ordinance number 1348, water rates. This is the second reading. First reading was March 3rd, 2020. Ms. Rivera, by its title only, please.
Ordinance number 1348, an ordinance of the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, amending town water rates and charges for the use of services rendered by its waterworks system operated by the town of Cedar Lake Municipal Water Utility, repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Again, this is an ordinance, the second reading, to move our water rate proposal forward. And there's still a lot of work to do. It has to be submitted to the IURC. And this is to get the entire customer base of the town under one set of rates. Mr. Austin, anything to add to that?
Spot on, that's
Okay.
exactly what it is.
Is there a motion by the council on the second reading, an adoptive reading of ordinance 1348? Motion, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Rivera. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item 2 is ordinance 1349, job description amendment. Ms. Rivera, by its title only, please.
Ordinance number 1349, an ordinance amending town ordinance 1150, being an ordinance establishing job employment descriptions for the employees of the town of Cedar Lake, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or portions thereof in conflict herewith, including town ordinance number 1243, and all matters related thereto, amending the job descriptions of the town fire department, job positions for the town, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you. Ms. Murr.
Mr. President, this is one of the items that came out of the Public Safety Committee meeting, was amending the position currently held by our Assistant Chief to Deputy Chief, making that a salaried exempt position. And it would also be considered a promotion for the position.
So, myself and Ralph met with Chief Wilkening, and we've had kind of an ongoing debate over his second-in-command position and how we take care of that position as it relates to the wage and salary structure and leadership structure. And it was decided and talked about that we would report on a recommendation of making Mr. Mager a deputy chief of the fire department, so he's kind of an official second in command in Todd's absence, and that would make it a salary position as well, which would bump Nick's salary up from where it is now and kind of clean up our organization a little bit. Mr. Austin, anything?
There's a bit of tweak and cleaning up to do. Jill and I met, or talked yesterday about this, but for first reading consideration, it's in good shape.
Okay. So, is there a motion to approve the first reading?
So moved.
I'll
Motion-
second.
Motion by Mr. Miller, seconded by Ms. Sheehan. Questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. We'll have the second reading at the April 7th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Item 3 is ordinance 1350, the 2020 salary ordinance amendment. Ms. Rivera, by title only, please.
Ordinance number 1350, an ordinance amending town salary ordinance number 1344, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Cedar Lake for the calendar year 2020, and repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Thank you. Ms. Murr?
Mr. President, the 2020 salary ordinance amendment comes after direction at your last meeting, as well as some direction from the committee. So this was the $3,000 per year raise for the police department as presented by the police chief at your last meeting, which included increasing the police officer first class special. This is one of the items we noted, the VIPS stipend needed to be defined on when it's payable. So we added that into the salary ordinance, at the same time updating the fire department for the deputy fire chief position and adding that salaried exempt position for your consideration, as well as the holidays observed for the fire department, dividing those holidays and allowing for part-time fire personnel to also be paid the overtime for working holidays in the department.
Okay, thank you. You've heard ordinance 1350. Mr. Austin, does this need to read?
It does, and the same comments would apply as to the last ordinance.
Okay.
We recommend first reading only.
We have the first reading of ordinance 1350, 2020 salary ordinance amendments with an explanation and a recommendation from the legal counsel. Is there a motion by the council on approval of ordinance 1350's first reading?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sharp. Are there questions or discussion? Again, I'll mention that I'm in favor of taking a patient approach to this and waiting for the conclusion of our in-house financial analysis to look at long-term sustainable plans for all of our public safety to not only pay staff more, but to add staff. I think anytime we forego an officer on something like this, especially given the situation in our country right now, is not something that I would feel comfortable with, but again, it's a democratic process and people are free to vote how they vote. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven,
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
No, motion carries 4-1. Item 4 is resolution 1255, rainy day transfer. By its title, Ms. Rivera and then Ms. Sandberg, explanation please.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, resolution number 1255. A resolution authorizing a transfer to the rainy day fund of unused and unencumbered funds from the general fund.
Thank you. Ms. Sandberg.
So this resolution is to transfer, what I came up with was $30,000 is my suggested transfer amount from the general fund to the rainy day fund. 2019, we had remaining appropriations of just over $274,000. We had a pretty decent cash balance as of ending 2019, a little over $1.9 million in the general fund. Current cash as of Friday was just over 1.3. It's still anticipated that we will not receive our spring distribution until June 30th. That's about the normal time we receive it. So we need to make sure we have enough cash on hand to carry us through so we can get expenditures and remaining pay periods through June 30th. That's why I'm suggesting the $30,000 to be transferred.
Thank you. It's a motion by the council on resolution 1255 to transfer $30,000 to the rainy day fund.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sharp,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Miller. This is exciting, the first time we've made a transfer to something like this in a long, long time. So, very good. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. New business, item 1 is Christopher Burke, proposal for subdivision roadway plan update. Ms. Murr?
Mr. President, your street committee met on March 13th. Rick was there, Mr. Carnahan, John Foreman joined us by phone. One of the things that was directed was updating the previous 2010 plan. 7 of those sections have been completed. 3 of those sections have rolled over to a new plan. This is bringing all of those and adding the various sections, including Noble Oaks, the shades, shades A, B, any sections that had been left off of previous projects, and bringing those up to a 20% completion, so that way we can go to NIPSCO, go to the various utilities, so if there's any utilities that need to be relocated, we can give them those plans, but without bringing them up to a 20% completion, we can't do that. It was recommended that you guys approve the scope of services here with Christopher Burke. The amount of direct costs is $137,150. And they will bill us in accordance with the master agreement that you guys approved on a monthly basis as we go forward. And the committee's direction was that.
Yes. Very good meeting, they did a great job, they covered a lot of stuff. Don and TJ have done a lot of work on this, and Christopher Berg has done a lot of work on this, so I think this is getting some things going that we needed to get going, so, and keep it moving. So.
I'm happy to see Noble Oaks on this.
I am too.
Very good.
Randy. Very happy.
This also includes some of the stormwater work that is a little bit larger than a general stormwater project that had been considered. 137th and Lowerman was also tied into
Yes, it
Noble
was,
Oaks.
yes.
And unfortunately, our friends there in Noble Oaks have been driving on kind of horse trails
Not
for the
much.
last 40 years plus, so
Yep.
it's very much time.
And Don worked the 130, what is it, Bill, the 133rd, is that where the group was just in talking about it a couple of meetings
On the west
ago?
side of the liquor store there?
Yes, yeah, yeah, so that's included in this.
That's
also.
great, yeah.
Actually included is a colored map, so you can see the areas and sections that are referenced
Yeah, it's a
in the
great,
proposal
it's a great map.
of what we are looking to do. This is outside any local smaller road projects or the community crossing grant that we recently applied for. There's a variety of funds that can be used to pay for this as well, from MBH for the engineering services to
I see
to the
one
garbage
street,
funds.
I see
to-
one street though, one street that has been a thorn for a long time, and it's a very short street, is Birch Street from 137th curving back to Lowerman. That is basically a dirt road. That's one that's not on this, and maybe there's something we can do with the incorporation of that in the Noble Oaks project because of its proximity.
Could fit in there, yeah.
I would hope that we could get something done there to get some grading done and some asphalt down. It's not a highly traveled road, it's not going to need a great deal of attention, but something there
It needs
to,
something, you're right.
because if you've driven down that road, it's another one that, like I said, it's a horse and buggy path.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a proposal from Christopher Burke. Is there a motion by the council to accept the proposal as listed?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Rivera,
Second.
second by Mr. Sharp. Are there questions or discussion? Roll call?
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Colleen Scheven.
Yes.
Richard Hart.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Now we go to reports, town council, any town council reports. I have one. I would urge everyone to stay calm, be diligent, be good neighbors to each other. I've been pretty upset with some of the things that I've seen out of all levels of government throughout this process. One of the things that upset me the most, and I want to pull it up here, is a press release by the mayor of the city of Champaign, Illinois, of the emergency measures that they were taking. And this is an example of government overstepping its bounds and violating people's constitutional rights. And I think it's important, no matter what the emergency is, that we maintain a grip on our freedom and liberty. So this was what, from her press release, shall violate parts of the Open Meetings Act, which has been done here in Indiana as well, but it's been done through the proper channels, and there's still public access to everything. A ban of sale of firearms and ammunition, violating the Second Amendment. Ban of sale of alcohol, closing of all bars, taverns, liquor stores, etc. Ban sale or giving away of gasoline or other liquid flammable or combustible products in any container other than a gasoline tank permanently fixed to a motor vehicle. Direct the shutoff of power, water, gas, etc. Take possession of private property and obtain full title to same. And prohibit or restrict ingress and egress to and from the city. So I would ask everyone to please be aware that there are government officials out there who are looking for an opportunity to steal your freedom from you, to take your private property and your weapons. Don't let it happen. Don't ever let that happen. Not in the name of any emergency. This country was founded on the principles of freedom. And to quote one of our founding fathers. Let me find my quote here. I've sent this to so many people because it's something I think we all need to take a look at. Benjamin Franklin said in 1755, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." So it's important to remember that while we need to be diligent, be smart, take common sense steps, we should never allow anyone in government to take our constitutional freedoms or civil rights from us. So be good people, be good neighbors, be smart, and be good Americans. So that's the only report I can give tonight on that, and I thank everyone for coming to this meeting and participating in their government, because you're not patrons of the government, you're the boss. So never forget that. Thank you. Any other council reports? Committees, ecosystem restoration, did they meet recently?
No, they have not. I'm leaving those on there as a standing.
Yep. Public Works and
Excuse
Safety.
me, I want to back up.
Go ahead,
Jill,
Ralph.
in our last eco meeting, we had talked about adding the new member in that, and we've added our new members in that. And we also talked about moving forward in that. I'd like to make sure that we stay on track with that. I know with all this other going on, but I'd like to have a meeting with the committee again and have Kay and, make sure we follow through, and the sooner the better. But I realize with everything that's going on.
Okay.
Thanks, Ralph. Public Works and Safety, we will have a meeting tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock,
5 p.m.
and we'll have a report at the next council meeting on that committee meeting. Park and Recreation, there's been no other meeting, well,
They're
streets,
scheduled for April 22nd.
April 22nd. Council Affairs, there hasn't been any business to this point. Streets, we just dealt with the
That was
report
March
from that.
12th.
And planning. Town Attorney, any reports?
No reports, I made them at the utility meeting.
Thank you. Clerk Treasurer,
No report.
thank you. Town Administrator,
No report other than to just update that the joint town council meeting with Lowell had called and canceled that for March 30th. So to report that during your council meeting, as well as that was reported during the utility board meeting.
thank you. Director of Operations is absent. Police Department,
No reports other than our, I don't know if Jill, are we gonna bring up our directives?
As well as the directives that we had ratified earlier this evening. Both departments have put directives in place to protect public safety members as
can you make
well
sure those
as
are posted
the
on our website and on our Facebook?
We can.
Make sure that the public has access to those documents immediately. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, the only other thing, I guess it doesn't fall under it, but I met with Mr. Valentine, that we went back and forth a few emails about some issues over in Centennial. I met with him, we talked, and as we were sitting there, I realized what he was complaining about was pretty accurate about the speeders in the subdivision. And the problem we found was that there was pretty much no slowing down from the entrance into the, off of 141st all the way around past Dixon Court before the first stop sign happened. So I also met with Tim before he went into surgery. We have installed 2 temporary stop signs, one at South Annapolis and one at Dixon Court, which is in between that portion. We've also spoken with Altop. They are going to pay for the installation of stop signs in those locations, as well as get that information to Jill, or we'll put it into the ordinance, which is gonna help slow it down. I know Mr. Valentine is here tonight, and I'm sure at public comment he's gonna wanna stand up, but he wants to talk about possible speed bumps in that area. But we did meet, and we had a good meeting, I think. And it was well received. We got the stop signs up immediately the next day. I don't know how it's done with the traffic so far. We also put the speed sign up. Most people think that that's just a gimmick, but that speed sign actually records every vehicle driving down the speed, and it tallies it for us. So we get a report back from us. It shows the maximum speed, shows the speed of every individual car, so that we can see how fast the vehicles are traveling within that area.
I think some people used to see how fast they can go 0 to 60.
Sometimes that happens, yes, but to be honest with you, when we did it on the north side of the subdivision there, the maximum speed we ever got was about 2 miles over the speed limit. It just appears a lot faster than what you think it is. So, but the stop signs will help slow and curb the vehicle speed down.
Okay.
So it worked out really good.
Thank
But
you.
I'll let him speak at public comment as well.
Fire department,
Other than our directive, no, everything's right now.
okay. And we'll make sure those are posted and there for public view as soon as possible. As well as the document that we adopted tonight for council. Okay, let's see, Rick Communication, Hanover Community School Corporation Resource Officer Training, Ms. Murr.
Council, this missed your last agenda by a day or so, but they did send in a thank you for allowing them to use the Cedar Lake Clubhouse for their training, February 10th through the 14th. It was a huge success. They put 25 officers through training, and 3 of those were directly from Cedar Lake. So they appreciate it, and they were able to utilize one of our own facilities for training.
Building Department permits.
Year-to-date, we are at 16 new home permits valued at just over $2.4 million, with 64 alteration permits at just under $850,000. Just this past week, 11 home permits went out for Rose Garden Estates, the new subdivision along 141st.
Awesome. We hope to keep that momentum going.
Mr. President, while your building commissioner is out, how is that permit review work and permit issuance work being handled?
He is reviewing those. We are just, due to certain current circumstances, he's not going to be in the public.
No, I understood that. I mean,
He was here today and reviewed
Yeah.
some of them.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, we go to open public comments. Anything to say? Nick, I'm gonna go to you first, my friend. You had a lot on your mind earlier.
Yeah, I noticed that. And I'm actually out looking at 2 houses over on the next block over there. My question that I want to ask is, I know they were putting like signs up over here on Morris, and I noticed they got like yellow, like lines on it, and they were doing something over there with flags on it. I don't know what they're doing, but I guess they're putting like flags on Morris. When you come down one way, going on that way, and I know they got flags on both. They got like signs all over the place. They're putting, I don't know what they're putting up, because I just talked to, one guy over there putting, flags up on the side of the road. And I asked him, well, what are you guys doing? What's going on? They're, oh, well, we're gonna put signs up. I'm like, okay, what kind of signs? Like street signs or what, what's going on? So I had to find out what was going on with that idea. So they were putting like street signs up over here on Morris. So I just wanna make sure that we pretty well know what's going on.
Okay.
I'm actually looking at 2 houses ready need to be demolished on the next block over. I already talked to a few other people. They said that the house, the 2 houses I'm looking into, they need to be demolished because they got cats moving in that house, one of the houses, I guess. And I guess the property looks like really bad. So yeah, I've been over there looking at these houses ever since. I'm looking at another house ready. I'm gonna have to get the address of that house. But I will get you guys the information you guys need any time of the day in my presence. Like I said, I'm just keeping updates on what I'm doing on my side.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will, I'll keep you guys in touch with that idea. And, I'll get hold of you many times and, see see if we can get them, those, orange things out there and get them to houses to be demolished. You know, get them houses to be demolished for some reason.
We need the address, we definitely need the address.
You know what, I got them in my office right now, and I'll give them to you.
Okay.
You know, like I said, I got addresses in my office. When do you want them by? I can give them to you like as soon as possible.
Yep, as soon as you can get them to Jill, that would be great.
That gets us
Alright,
started.
what I'll do, I'll just leave them at your, you know, at your thing there.
Okay, thanks,
You know,
Nick.
I'll just leave them over there and I'll just make sure that you guys had them, you know, make sure that, you know, everything will be up and running. And then also that, cause I guess the lines on the road need to be whitened up a little bit too, cause it's getting really hard to see with all that snow being piled up on it. I think they need to make it more wider, you know, the signs, the lines on the road, they need to be more wider. Cause what I'm doing is, I'm walking inside the road, I can't see the line from the road. Cause it's really hard to see, cause I'm walking behind the line, not behind the line. So it just needs to be, you know, like plowed out of it, you know, where I can see the line from there.
Nick, as always, your diligence and how you pay attention to our town is appreciated.
Yes, I should be the mayor of the town. Basically. Is that for track?
Hey,
We
Nick,
need to put together. a
please
ballot
don't go on those
referendum to make
properties
the city
when you're
and
doing
the name-
inspections,
Oh,
okay?
I do not go
Do not
on,
go in those houses and
I'm
don't,
good, man.
they're not safe, so don't go in there.
you know, like I was telling Fisher, and I told him that, well, you know, I can't go I just go on the street line,
Right.
basically, I don't go on the property line.
Don't go on the property line.
Don't go on the property, just
No, no.
do
no,
your
I won't
inspection
go-
from the road and that's fine.
Yeah,
okay?
that's what I do, that's what I
Get
do.
the address.
Well, thank you
Just-
for your help,
Thank you.
Nick.
Yeah, I will, keep you guys updated and let you guys know what's going on.
Keep everybody safe.
And I'm also getting thank you from Hanover Central School.
Huh?
I'm also getting a thank you from Hanover Central School, and from Hanover, I'm getting the thank you from them, what I've been doing over there.
Good.
Good.
So, yeah, I've been keeping up that too.
Well, you will be the mayor someday, just keep it up.
Well, anytime I would like to be up there and see what you gotta go through every day. I was gonna talk to Bob Conahan, but I told him Bob Vila, but,
Bob Vila.
That's a great nickname for him. Yep. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you,
Have a
gentlemen.
good night.
You should be loud.
Gentlemen here, we have a honorable serviceman with us today.
Thank you so much. To this honorable council, my name is Colonel Antonio Tony Daggett, D-A-G-G-E-T-T, Northwest Indiana resident, 21 years now. This is my wife, Vida. I am recently retired after 36 years of military service, in September actually. So during the course of these 36 years of serving our great nation, we have given birth to 10 children. We have 8 boys and 2 girls.
He was
Well,
actually
she had-
incredible.
You got a baseball
Well,
team.
she had, yeah.
Wow, that is awesome.
What a blessing it has been. We are thankful to be now kind of settled in Northwest Indiana. We are educators for the most part. Of our 10, we have a Yale graduate, undergrad biology. We have a Tuskegee graduate, mechanical engineer.
Wow.
We have a daughter who's a double major graduate from Valpo, chemistry and biology. And then we have a son who's a computer science graduate from Valpo this June. So education has been extremely important, obviously, in our home. I'm a licensed high school principal in the state of Indiana and Illinois. Just recently passed my school district superintendent's exam. And my wife has her bachelor's from Columbia and her master's degree also. So we've come out because we really want to just introduce ourselves to this body, and also do some fact finding, find out what the needs are and concerns are here in Cedar Lake. And it's been a very interesting meeting, hearing some of the issues and some of the concerns and the way the council has responded to its residents. it's really an example for a lot of town councils to take a look at what you all are doing here. So we are just thankful for the opportunity. My last duty station was at the Pentagon. I was there from 2006 to 2009, and still very much interested in serving this great nation in which we live in. As a caveat, I'll just share I am a candidate for the United States Congress here in District 1, which includes all of Lake County, all of Porter County, and a portion of LaPorte County. So we want to continue to serve. We believe we have the qualification and credentials to do so. And again, we just wanted to come out and just say hello and thank you for taking the opportunity to allow us to introduce ourselves.
Mr., go ahead.
Good luck to you.
Oh,
And just good luck in servicing all this area. We've all been through canvassing, but on a smaller scale. But I mean, you have a great background.
thank you. Thank you.
Be lucky to have you.
Did you and your wife write a manual on parenting? And all have a successful children as you do, oh my goodness.
Well, I will admit, she is the glue. She has been the glue, no question. With all the different training I've had to go through, airborne, aerosol, things like that, she's held it together, so I thank God for her.
Amen.
Really.
I would love to pick your brain as to some of those experiences that you've gone through, the family of that size, and how you molded these young people and led them into the things that they're becoming and doing. I mean, I find that just incredibly intriguing because it's one of the greatest leadership models there is a family.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Well, I tell everyone, a lot of prayer.
Amen.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Council have any questions for Mr. or Mrs. Daggett? Well, thank you very much for your,
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
appreciate your service to the country and your contributions, and wish you well, and hopefully you have success in whatever you set out to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Valentine.
But I can't top that.
I don't know if anybody.
I know he took good advantage of every lead he had. Hi, my name is Angel Valentine. I live in the Centennial subdivision, and first of all, I want to thank you guys for getting those stop signs put up. I've been watching. They're still speeding. Some people are still running those stop signs. In fact, on the 15th, and I got it on video because I got cameras in my truck. I had a lady run the stop sign. When I beat the horn, she gave me the flag. So we already know how it's gonna be. You can't stop everybody, but it is
Did
helping.
she make you number one, Angel?
Yes. That was one day. But anyways, it is helping. They are helping. They are slowing down, which is a good thing. But I think those speed bumps would help out a whole lot more. I
So
think
to comment on that, I was recently in Tuscaloosa, Alabama on a college visit with my daughter. And I drove down a neighborhood street there
Okay.
where they had speed humps. And it's something we've talked about here before, instead of the bumps, which are really sharp, to go with more of the gradual hump. And I'm telling you, if you drive over those things at anything more than 15 miles an hour, you're gonna wreck your car. But it's easy on a truck for a snow plow and things like that because it's a gradual up and down. They have them in Chicago as well.
Oh, yeah, let's give them all
So
a try.
I would like to see, Jill, if our public works could get some pricing on those, see what it would take to install those, what kind of signage we might need. And
Are they permanent fixtures or they come up in the wintertime?
No, they
Those
stay.
are permanent.
Permanent,
Yeah,
they're
they're permanent.
a traffic calming measure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there's quite a few communities that I travel through to see family in Illinois that
They're-
have those.
Yeah, they're widely used in the
Traffic
Midwest, and they don't damage the snow plows the way the new ones are shaped.
Are you talking about the ones that are really wide compared to the instant steepness?
Right, so it's
Okay.
kind of a gradual up and down, but if you go
Sure.
fast over them, you will wreck your vehicle.
Sure.
Another thing, there's only speed signs on the entrance of the subdivision on both sides. There's nothing throughout the subdivision at all. So,
And I think that those speed humps are something that we could use pretty widely in some of these new neighborhoods where we're seeing some of these issues. And they wouldn't have to be installed everywhere, but just in certain strategical locations
Right.
in between stop signs as a way to mitigate some of that pickup of speed.
well, right in front of my house where me and the chief were there, and he saw it. And it's a pretty good, nice little space that they can run through, you know what I mean? So they can pick up speed pretty
So Jill, two things for the street committee, the speed humps and getting together with the Jane Ball kids on that sidewalk project.
Mr.
Can't let
President?
that drop.
The other thing he mentioned too, and I don't know if this is an ordinance issue, but there's only 2 actual speed limit signs in that subdivision, the 2 entrances, and that's it. Is that something that's only required from building when it's first beginning, or?
I believe that those can be installed and then codified, correct?
They can,
Yep.
and they should be.
So install them where you think is necessary, and then we put together the map and then codify it.
We'll catch the law up to the back.
So our street department, we can have them, but once Tim comes back, we can sit down and figure out where we need some speed limit signs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just make sure that it's communicated then to Jill and to Dave.
Thank you.
I just want to bring up that we're having some speed issues in the South Shore as well. I've had some complaints, delivery trucks flying down the street, almost like
Amazon's
kids.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and I think,
They're delivering toilet paper. to
Oh, man, I wish you'd done something in my house, but I'm running out.
I have to admit, my wife went on Amazon several days, it was maybe last week, and said, well, let's see what they have for toilet paper, just out of giggles. The day before I went on and they were selling 12 rolls for $61. Then she found these packs that were reasonably priced, under $1 a roll. Okay, I'm gonna buy some. It was a couple weeks out for delivery. We got them today and found out that she bought 144 rolls in these cases. We didn't know it was that many. I saw the delivery guy coming today and I said, oh my goodness, we're gonna be busy.
I hope they don't get you selling them out of your garage.
No, there'll be no price gouging or resale. They'll be used eventually.
Mr. President, Ms. Sheehan, if you know it's a delivery truck, especially those Amazon trucks, they have a unit number on the back of them,
I
and
did tell-
Amazon is very strict about it. They
yeah,
will
the gentleman that was complaining to me, I did say that, I said if it's a
Get that to
business
us.
truck, they have numbers, or
Yeah.
at least get a plate, you know.
And Amazon and
But-
GPS units, every one of their trucks will be able to tell where there's.
I know, especially in the summer, all summer long,
Sure.
like,
Yeah, 'cause they use subcontractors for that.
they fly up and
They are
down. It's not all
subcontractors, yes.
delivery, it's just people, you know, we get them sometimes even bugaboos, and
Mhm.
we have so many kids in that neighborhood with no sidewalks.
Yeah.
So it's just,
So our next street committee meeting, Angel, will get this stuff in front of our committee so we can put together kind of a plan and a report and work with our public works and our police station, our police officers and the chief to get a plan in place for your subdivision and others.
Yeah,
And then be able to hopefully install those speed humps sometimes this summer.
that'd be great.
That'd be awesome.
Get me out of your hair.
I don't like you. I like seeing you. I like when you email me, so I appreciate it.
All right, then, thank you.
Thanks, Angel.
Colleen, you used to have a lot of natural speed humps in South.
yes,
Shore
we
before
did,
we
yes,
paved
we
them.
did.
Yeah, that's right. We made your streets too smooth.
Yeah, that's right.
Be safe, okay.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Third and final call, public comments closed. Well, I thank everyone again for coming tonight and wish everyone to be well. Our next council meeting will be on April 7th at its regularly scheduled time of 7 p.m. This meeting is